So, this whole story, it all starts with a single object. You could call it a bolt, but not one made of metal. This is about family history. We're about to unpack the story of an entire island, Tasmania, but we're going to do it through the eyes of one family's past. It's a journey that's going to take us through deep time, through conflict, and through some incredible change. And it's all unlocked by this one single book. Okay, let's dive right in. What you're looking at here is a family Bible from 1826. And yeah, it looks ancient, because it is. This is the key to everything. You have to think of this as the hard drive for a family's most important data, from a time long before we had anything like the cloud. Because, you see, this isn't just about one family. Once you start following the thread from this one Bible, well, it pulls you into a much bigger, much more complex, and honestly, a pretty astonishing story about Tasmania itself. To really get why this book is so important, we kind of have to think about time a little differently. Not just as a clock ticking away, but as something, well, something more alive, something that breathes. I mean, think about it. This Bible was so much more than just a religious book. It was the central server for a family's entire life. It's where you recorded every birth, every marriage, every death. It was the official record, the family's memory bank, holding all the data that would have just been lost to time otherwise. And the raw data inside, it's just heartbreaking. These are actual entries from the Bolt family Bible. You see Frederick James, who died at age 5. Alvina May, only 6. It's such a stark reminder that even for a family that was pretty well off, life was unbelievably fragile. And that's the thing, this wasn't some rare tragedy. This was just life. All right, so now let's zoom out. The story of the Bolt family is really just one single thread and a much, much bigger tapestry. Because for historians, and even for geneticists, the entire island of Tasmania is like this massive living experiment. And this number, this is the key. Just 10,000 families. That's it. The entire European Society of Tasmania was built from this tiny concentrated group of people who arrived over about a 50-year span. Just think about how small that is to start a whole new world. And the result of that small founding group is, well, it's staggering. Get this, today, 65% of Tasmanians can trace their family line directly back to those original 10,000 families. Families just like the Bolts. The island's history isn't just in books. It's literally written in the DNA of the people walking around there right now. So what's crucial to understand is just how different this is from mainland Australia, right? The mainland had these constant waves of immigration, gold rushes, people coming after the wars, which led to this huge population churn and constant genetic mixing. Tasmania, though, it was isolated. It was a genetic bottleneck. And that's what makes it such an incredible living laboratory for studying heredity and society. But the thing is, the story of those 10,000 families, that's just a tiny fraction of Tasmania's human history. To really understand this island, we have to rewind the clock. And I mean way back. Long before it was ever called Tasmania, this land was known as Trewana. And for tens of thousands of years, it was home to the Palawa, Tasmania's Aboriginal people. They were, for a very long time, the most southerly humans on the entire planet, living in isolation for millennia. This timeline, wow, it really puts everything into a shocking perspective, doesn't it? For nearly 40,000 years, you have this stable, continuous culture. Then, about 12,000 years ago, the sea levels rise, the land bridge to the mainland vanishes, and that culture develops in complete isolation. And then, just look at the end of the timeline, 1803, 1830. In what is basically the blink of an eye, geologically speaking, everything changes forever. And that right there is the core tragedy of this story. A stability that lasted for 30 millennia was just completely shattered in a few decades. Colonial conflict, new diseases, displacement, things like the military operation known as the Black Line. It was a collision of worlds on a scale that's almost impossible to imagine. So for a long time, the thinking was that the Palawa people were completely cut off, totally isolated. But there's this strange linguistic clue, a kind of historical paradox that suggests a much deeper, more mysterious connection to the mainland was going on. Okay, this is absolutely fascinating. Stick with me here. In the 1960s, a Tasmanian author writes a kid's book called Tangara. Decades later, people figure out that Tangara is a word from the Ora people, the original inhabitants of Sydney, and it means to go. So, how did a Tasmanian author with no internet, no way to research obscure linguistic records, even know this word? It suggests that fragments of a shared culture, maybe a language passed through songlines and stories, somehow survived for thousands of years, maybe even across the Bass Strait. Look, there's no way around it. This island's history is just steeped in trauma, from the brutal convex system to the near destruction of its first peoples. But what's so remarkable is how Tasmania has started to process that history and, in many ways, transform itself. So take the town of Brighton, for example. Back in 1830, this place was a key operational hub for the Black Line, that brutal military campaign we mentioned, designed to remove the island's Aboriginal population. I mean, this ground is soaked in a history of just profound atrocity. And today, it's a total transformation. Tasmania has become this global center for culture. Places like Mona, the Museum of Old and New Art, have created this space for what you could call healing through art. It's a way of confronting and actually processing the island's darkest chapters. It's gone from a place of extreme intolerance to a leader in progressive social change. Ultimately, if there's one thing this journey from that old family Bible teaches us, it's this. Tasmania is not some forgotten colonial backwater. It is a living archive. Its human story goes back further than the ancient civilizations of Egypt or Sumer. It's a microcosm of deep time, of colonial collision, and of the incredible resilience of human culture. And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. That old Bolt family Bible, it wasn't just a record of names and dates. It was a key. It was a key that unlocked a 40,000-year-old story of an entire island. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What living archives are just waiting there in your own family's history, ready to connect you to a past you never even imagined?